Hi, my name is Kaya, knows by Kaya, and thank you for returning and watching another video, or watching this video if this happens to be the first one that you watch. Today we're gonna start with starting over.
It's been a long time coming. They ain't cuffing my cloth, they tugging it. Putting up numbers, 99 pounds, and I still kept it 100. Yeah, it's been a long time coming. They ain't cuffing my cloth, they tugging it. Putting up numbers, 99.
Starting over is hard, but I want to talk to you about some of the benefits of starting over and maybe give you a different perspective, so that you can manage that a little bit differently. So I'm gonna give you a couple examples of when I've had to do that myself, and it's challenging. It's never easy. I've had to do it a few times and now I'm kind of at the point where I'm like, okay, it is what it is. So I want to kind of talk you through that, give you some real life examples, and hopefully help you to see it in a different way that is more efficient for you, more effective, and helps you through your healing and growth journey. Okay, so I currently live in South Carolina. I was born and raised in Oklahoma, and I left for the first time ever. Now, I had traveled to other places, right? But I mean, like, living away from home for the first time in September 2022. And it is currently April 2024. And no, that is wrong. I left in September 2023. It is currently April 2024. And it has been quite a journey. So I'm going to start with what most recently happened, and then I will kind of work backwards to other things where I maybe struggled a little bit more with letting go and how I can tell that it was affecting me. So I have been doing Nose by Kaya since 2018. I am terrible with dates. I am awful with them. But I believe it was 2018. And I would think that it would be a whole lot different than what it is right now. However, I also realized that this was just a journey that had to happen, and it's all part of the plan. It all goes together, and you know, whatever, when you stress about things like that, you only really hurt yourself. And we'll talk more about that down the line in this video and others to come. So and I might like kind of look around, whatever. I want this to be a super comfortable channel. I'm going to work on that because I want this to be like a FaceTime between us, right? And but this is what it's like for me on FaceTime too. But I also want you to understand and know through this channel that it doesn't have to be perfect. You don't have to be perfect. You never will be anyway. So that's kind of part of what we'll be learning throughout this process, is how to accept that and move on. And it is what it is. Like, eventually, like, I want to be just like chilling on the couch in these different videos. This one just didn't work for me at the moment or whatever. So anyway, letting go and starting over, because those two things, they are different, but they go hand in hand, okay? And they're both very hard in their own right. And so when you understand that one also means the other, that gets very challenging. And when you struggle with starting over and letting go, even more challenging, right? And been there, done that. So in South Carolina, I was with my cousin and her friends at this the Charlotte Brunch Festival, okay? And you know, this past week, actually Yeah, it's been a little bit up and down. So Mercury retrograde has been here since the beginning of April. We're now April 14th. We have like just over 10 more days of this, and I've been feeling it. And all the different things, the solar eclipse came, and whether you believe in all of those things or not, I believe that we are all connected. If you believe in the God made Adam story, he pulled him from the ground, from dirt, and made him from that. So that means that we are all connected through the universe, even through the animals, the trees, like God did everything on purpose, right? And it does all connect to us as well, right? Anyway, so I've been kind of working through that, trying to be open, trying to like use whatever energy I've had to the best, that I could throughout this time. And so I was like, okay, a song that I loved as a kid, Speak to My Heart by Donnie McClurkin, just like came to my mind. And I was like, you know what, that's really what I want, because I feel like I have been trying to figure it out and it's not coming to me. I mean, little pieces here and there, but I was like, no, I needed to be okay, like we need something different. So I was listening to that song over and over and over and over again one night, and it was the only song I wanted to listen to. And then I would, like, before I could even end, starting it over. And like, okay, I wrote it down in my prayer journal, and it was like, something needs to come, right? And it was Get Back to Faith. And I was like, hold on, please. Because that's been a difficult point for me. I've always been a very spiritual person. I believe that many of the women in my family are very spiritual and intuitive and have gifts beyond our knowledge. But sometimes religion clouds that and gets in the way and tells us all these rules and man-made things, and it can cloud what God really wants and has for us, as well as society things as well. So, but for me, it has always stayed present. It's always stayed close. But I left church after being raised in church. Like I tell people, I could have been born on the pews, okay? Like, if my dad was the one to get pregnant, I definitely would have been born on a pew in a church, okay? Like, but my mama wasn't having none of that, so that's probably the only reason it did happen that way. I mean, just always at church for every little thing. As a kid, singing in the adult choirs, growing up to be part of leadership, and, even developing different things that they still have in the church to this day, that I started. And so shout out to them, big ups to them, hope it's successful, whatever. It's just not the place for me anymore. Will I ever go back to a church? Maybe. I watch different sermons online and stuff like that, and I'll talk more specifically about that journey in a completely different video. But anyway, I just that was hard for me, because to me, faith has always been that version of faith, and I don't align with that. I don't, it's restrictive. Like I said, we'll do a whole different video on that. And so I was like, okay. But at the same time, even though I was resistant, it felt very good. And I was like, okay, can't deny that. So we're gonna just let this go and see how this plays out, right? I actually started Notes by Kaya as a Christian-based mental health education platform. That's like what I would tell people. But then it kind of shifted to faith-based mental health education platform, and that felt better. And for a couple of reasons. One, I feel that in Christianity, we don't respect other people's faiths, and it can get very mean and hateful, and I'm sure not what God intended at all. And to have a business that kind of screams that because of the association and turns other people away that I know are meant to be here, that doesn't feel good. And it feels like you're constantly like fighting against the wall, and I didn't want that. So I was like, okay, that's gonna be a struggle to go back into that, because I feel like there are so many wounds that are not healed. And completely, I will say, I've done a lot of work and they are scabbing over, okay? But yeah, I was just like, okay. But it's like, you've always been a spiritual person. Like, this is who you are to your core. And I just need you to step into that in the way that I created you to. And I'm like, okay. So I kind of just have that in the back of my head. I have been hearing for a while, clear out your social media. Now, social media does not make that very easy, okay? I deleted my Twitter. I feel like that had just breeded a lot of negativity that I didn't want. I didn't want to be associated with anymore. I've grown a lot at a time in my life where I was very, very, very wounded. Sometimes my Twitter and social media in general, I used it to kind of lash that out because I felt like nobody else was listening, like outside of that, right? And I just kept thinking about, man, if I was a brand looking to work with me and I looked at this social media, I wouldn't necessarily want to. Like, you could see my heart in some of it, but then just the way I was communicating, the way I was doing that thing, I was like, it's not really what I want associated with the brand anymore. So I deleted it. Okay, I started out trying to use the app to delete all the tweets. It didn't work. And I was like, there is no way that this many years of social media, of Twitter tweets, I'm gonna be able to go through and do one by one. So I was okay. And so a couple nights ago, it was just like, go and delete it, get rid of it. Okay. All right. Facebook is probably going to be next. There's still a little attachment there. We're going to talk about that. So, but Instagram, my cousin and I and her friends went to the Charlotte Brunch Festival, and you know, I'm talking to her, whatever, and it's just like, delete everything from Instagram, clear it out. Again, now let me tell you, I've been hearing it, okay? And I was just like, And the thing is, I've had people who were assigned to my life to help raise me. And, you know, before, when I would talk to them about quitting, it would be like, oh, but when you come back, it's gonna be so much harder. You're gonna have to start over, and blah, 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 right? And I'm like, oh yeah, that would be so hard. I don't want to do that. Okay, should not have listened to that, but whatever. So, you know, I kept like, well, when people want to work with me, like, what are they gonna think when there's nothing here for them to reference or whatever? And so I'm like, okay. But I hear it loud now. Like, it's very clear that that's what needs to happen. And it was kind of like, well, Kaya, do you want to hang on to what this Instagram used to be and used to represent? Or are you ready to get what I'm about to bring you? I was like, ouch. Like, okay, well, let me go and delete this stuff. I deleted each post one by one. It took over 2 hours. And I just practiced staying present in that moment. There were plenty of times where I was like, I want to like do this other thing while I'm doing this or whatever. And it was like, no, we're working on you being present in the moment. And this is what we're going to do. So I did have music on, my little Bossa Bee playlist, to kind of, you know, whatever. It was a whole moment, okay? So, hey, don't you hate when that happens? Sometimes my lipstick, like, anyway, y'all know. So, I'm like, okay, we're staying present. There were several times where I had to remind myself of that. Stay in this moment. We're doing this for a reason. I want you to stay here. There were so many other thoughts going through my head, trying to figure out, okay, what is this rebrand gonna be? What, like, all these other moving parts. And it was like, I ain't told you to go there yet. Chill out. Get back to what I told you to do. Oh, okay, back to deleting. Okay, so I'm doing all this, and again, it was just like, Kaya, I have so much better for you. Like, what you're getting ready to experience is nothing compared to this stuff that you're throwing up, okay? And I'm like, okay, I got it, okay? And I was just like, I guess that's what I gotta do, okay? So in that other part of this kind of moment, I was talking to my cousin. Well, it happened, we're at the brunch festival, and I was like, you know, spirits, when you open up, God, spirit, whatever label you want to use that best fits for you, when you're open, it talks to you all the time. And I was like, yeah, I definitely should have been a vendor right here. And it was like, that's why the shirts were important. So I started with shirts when I started Notes by Kaya, mental health awareness shirts, faith-based shirts, and I really resisted them and stopped selling them. One, because it's hard to, I didn't know a lot about managing the inventory and, you know, all of those different things, along with whatever else was going on in my life and how to keep it consistent and all of those things, right? And so that was part of it. But the other part was, because I started this very much faith in mental health, they didn't feel the same to me. And I felt like a fraud trying to sell them when I was having a lot of deep-seated wounds when it came to my spirituality. So I'm like, okay, the shirts were great. They are a fantastic way to meet people and get them here where you want them to be, right? And I was like, okay, but how do I do this? What do I start with? You know, whatever. So I'm asking my cousin, I'm like, what, if you could pick from any of my shirts, which one would you want me to start back with? Like, which one do you think should be kind of the kickoff and like stepping back into? And she's like, okay, run them back for me. And I'm like, okay. And, you know, I'm like, in my head goes to my original Mental Health Matters shirt. I'll try to remember to throw that right there. And I was like, oh yeah, I can do that in different colors, maybe switch up the design or whatever, because it was never really the exact design I wanted. And, you know, I can just do that. So that's what I wanted to do. And she was like, the Jesus Plus Therapy one. I was like, okay. Like, that was not my first option. And really, I tried to make that the furthest option, okay? And for many different reasons, you know, like, and I'm trying to save all this other stuff for this other video, but I just didn't connect with it in the same way anymore. And I don't want to be, I don't want people to be confused I don't want people to be like, oh, she's throwing Jesus up there and she, you know, because I'm not quiet about not going to church anymore. I'm not quiet about like using crystals. I'm not quiet about these other things, right? Maybe semi, but it was really kind of more of a burden. And so I was like, okay, I'm thinking through this, and I'm like, okay, we can do faith plus mental health, because my mind went back to, Kaya, this is a faith-based business. Okay. All right. I'm not getting away from that, because that is an extremely important piece. And when you throw that away, you also are throwing away part of what God wants you to do. Okay. Okay. So I was like thinking, and trying to put my head in, don't reject, just be open, right? And I was like, oh, okay, we can just change it to faith plus therapy equals healing. And so I was like, okay, all right, I think I can do that. That aligns much more with me, because like I said, I don't agree with the Christian, like, you're bad, you're wrong, you're going to hell, like, especially when people are raised in the religion that they are. Like, you're really only a Christian. A majority of the people are only a Christian because that's how you were raised. If you were raised as a different religion, you would probably be still practicing that religion, right? And I never liked that. Like, oh, they're Jehovah's Witness, so they're bad, they're terrible, you can't, like, and it's like, I don't think that's what the Bible meant for us to do. I don't know, but I don't think that's what God meant for us to do. Maybe the Bible had other motives. Okay, if you know, you know, but that's just not me, and that's not what I want my brand to represent. I want it to be, you know, because people, I believe your spiritual journey is your own, and it's a major part of our growing, and spiritual health is a part of mental health and physical health as well, and emotional health. And I believe it's a big part of connecting with who we are as individuals as well. Like, and there's just so much into it, and I really didn't like having this Jesus plus therapy equals healing when there's a big chunk of people that do resonate with like what I'm teaching and what Knows by Kai is about, but not necessarily to the Jesus himself part, right? And I don't want to exclude those people. And, you know, as we were raised, it's very much, oh, stand up and you, and all that drama, okay? And I'm just not here for it. That's not the message that I want to be a part of extending. So I was like, okay, I might keep the Jesus plus therapy ones for those people that I know specifically are like, no, it needs to be Jesus and that's it kind of thing. And I'm like, okay, so maybe those will stay. I don't know how long, I don't know how much I will do with them. I also feel that I should also be respectful of that if I'm going to be respectful of everyone else. Now, I can't put, you know, do it for every single religion and faith, but faith goes across the board and means so much more, as we will kind of talk about through all of this. And it was really the same thing with the devotional. Even though in the devotional I was very careful about my words, I was very careful about the way that I delivered messages, but because it's so strongly associated with like the Christian church itself, sometimes it didn't feel very good to promote it and to, you know, do things with it or whatever. And I'm sure there are people that are going to have their feelings about this as well, and that's fine. I definitely could tell my growth, because those thoughts did come up like, oh, there's going to be those people that are like, oh no, you're, you know, doing this wrong, whatever. But hey, you know? And I was able to recognize my growth in that. That didn't keep me stuck. It didn't keep me there. I just said, okay, well, I listen to what I was told to do and keep moving. Like, that's it. And I was over it pretty quickly, so that was great. And, you know, that letting different things go, it can be scary. When I was told delete everything from your Instagram besides these few posts, it was like, okay, well, what happens now? What happens now? But the thing is, and I think all the time, and I'll see if I can find the image and stick it right here, but I think about the little kid who has a small teddy bear that it's so attached to and it doesn't want to give it up. And then it has what's supposed to be Jesus holding this big, huge teddy bear, or a bigger teddy bear, like behind their back. And he's like reaching out, like, give me that. And I have this behind my back, right? And the kid is so attached to this other one that it doesn't even know that there's going to be something so much bigger and better on the other side, right? And like I said, I've had a couple instances with this, and this includes breakups, relationships, and we get so worried that, oh my God, what if I'm alone forever? What if no one ever loves me this way? But if you're being told to leave that person, they don't love you that much. Maybe they love you, but maybe y'all, you know, whatever. But there's a reason, okay? And if it was really that great, you wouldn't be being instructed to leave, or even thinking about it, right? And I won't say not even think about it, because there are those of us who overthink everything, okay? So I don't want to say that in a way like if it comes up into your mind, then that's how you know, because that's not how that works, okay? But if you are that convicted to where you're trying to hold on and you feel this pull of, no, you need to let go, there's a reason for that. And we get scared that, oh, what if I don't ever find this again? You don't need that again. You need something different, but you can't get different if you're not letting this go. That's just all there is to it. I had a couple relationships that I did not want to let go. Like, oh, but I love them so much. Yeah, okay. But they're not healthy for you. They're not healthy for you. So are you going to choose that because it's comfortable? Or are you going to choose this other way that I'm telling you is going to be better for you? And of course you don't know that. But our minds always go to what is the worst that can happen. But I want to give myself the option for something better as well, because that exists too. And I was in a relationship for a long time. We were off and on because we were attached and didn't want to let go. Even though every time we went back, it was harder. It was more work. We didn't feel the same about each other. I didn't feel the same. And it was just a lot. Okay, and eventually I was like, you know what? We gotta just go on and move on. And he knew it too, and I was looking at that message actually, and it was like, I think I'm gonna have to let this go for you, whatever. And I was like, okay. And then I'm so glad that I did, because that relationship taught me a lot, right? So I believe that everything happens for a reason. And those things that we're attached to, it's because there are good things about it, right? We're not attached to things that are only bad, because things are never only bad, right? And so there were great, excellent things. We had great times, like for, you know, the most part, we had a good friendship. And so there were certain things and memories and the time and all the things that I thought that I would be losing if I let go. but really it was just holding me hostage. And I learned a lot of valuable things, and it taught me a lot. It definitely prepared me for this next phase of life, for sure, the next phase of life that I went through after, as well as the ones moving forward. I learned a lot about myself. It is the relationship that really gave me the freedom and encouragement to explore what I actually wanted, and not just what like my family expected from me or wanted from me or whatever. Like, him being himself, that definitely like molded me into, okay, this is what I'm supposed to do or whatever. And I found freedom there. And that was one of the best things that I could have ever learned in life, was to get comfortable with who I am, to connect with myself in a different way, to give myself permission to live outside of just this church home like thing, right? And explore a little bit more, and has done me so much good. So that's one of the reasons why it is so hard to let go, is because there's good in this as well. Like, if it was just all bad, you wouldn't be like tripping that much. Even if someone is like physically abusive, which he was not at all whatsoever. But even if a relationship was physically abusive, and we see that all the time, and you're like, why don't you just leave? Don't you hate being beat up? Don't you hate these things? Like, is that what you want? And it's like, no. However, in the cycle of abuse, there's always like these good climactic points where it's like, oh, they do love me. Or, what would I even do without this, right? So if he is, and I'm using he, but please, I do understand that this happens on all sides, and not just one versus the other, right? But he pays for the house, he pays all the bills, he makes sure me and my kids are fed, like all of those things, and being worried about safety and protection. And that's really what this is about, is we are so scared to know what is on the other side of letting go, that we're just holding so tight. Holding so tight because we feel like there is nothing better. But why do you believe that for yourself? If you have faith, why is that what you believe? Do you believe that God, spirit, whatever is for you would lead you astray, or lead you in a direction to be more harmful to you? If so, why is that the spirit that we're connecting with? Right? So if you believe that I'm always going to be taken care of, things are always going to happen in my favor, we have to also put that into work. We have to also put that into work. And when I'm holding this Sprite and I'm holding my phone, but you're like, Kai, I have something to give you, but I'm like, ugh, but then I have to put this down. And I'm like, Kai, but I got a bigger Sprite for you and a better phone, but then I have to put these down to get that from you. Really? A bigger Sprite and a better phone, but I'm still holding on to these. Like, this is half gone. But they're like, but I got a full one for you that's bigger and it's nice and cold with no ice in it. Girl, give that to me, okay? So put it down and thank you. Put it down and thank you. Like, but we live in fear so much. So much. And that is not where we're intended to reside. Give them keys up. Right? So you know, and there's this other logical part that comes with this, right? It's like, oh, but I have to have everything planned. I gotta do this, gotta do, for what? If you're not even the one that's in control, right? Why are you trying to control all this? So I said I was going to tell y'all a couple different stories. A part of that was the boyfriend that I had to let go in order to get to the love of my life. Okay. Thank you, God. Okay. Because once I did, I found everything that I wanted and needed. And I was like, I'm so glad that I let go. And I'm going to tell you that he also got the exact same thing. Like, we talked and he got the same thing too. So we both needed to let go. And, you know, we got to let things run its course. Sometimes it's just done. Okay. The things that I was talking about on the Notes by Kai Instagram are still the things that I'm going to continue to talk about. It's just now going to be in a more refined way, in the way that, you know, it needs to be now at this given time. I feel like that was really to, I don't know what all that was for. It set the foundation. It taught me a lot of lessons. It helped me to like boost my confidence in all these things or whatever. Part of it was me defining my message and like kind of finding myself in all these things or whatever, right? And now it is time to shift that. Does it go away? No. And it's crazy because as I was spending those hours deleting posts, I was like, oh, Spirit already told me to make a video on that. Oh, okay. Yes, that. It's just now going to be in the way that it is supposed to be. So I am 100% good with that. And I believe, have faith, that that's for a reason. And I am now excited to see what's next. What comes out of this? And I was like, why is no content coming to me? Why am I not producing content? Why am I like, and I was, anyway. So I told you all that I moved to South Carolina from Oklahoma. I left a lot behind. And to be honest, so I decided 2 weeks before I left that I was never going back. 2 weeks. I only brought with me what I could fit in 2 suitcases and a carry-on. That's it. So I had to get rid of a lot of things. However, it's interesting how the universe will teach us lessons and prepare us for what's coming next, because I lost my apartment. Things were different. After my grandma passed, I went through a very severe depression. I wasn't working really, you know, seeing clients to make the money that I need to make to maintain all of the things, and it caught up to me. And so I was like, okay, well, this is it. And I cannot, like, I was going to move into my grandparents' house, another extremely difficult thing. And I couldn't take everything. Like, Kaya, you're gonna have a room. Like, that's it. And I still took too much. Like, but okay, putting stuff in storage. I am putting stuff in the garage. I'm throwing stuff away. I threw so much away. So much. And then it was time to go again. And I still had to throw so much away. And let me tell you what happened to that storage. It flooded. Everything got ruined. And I was like, oh, okay. Guess I don't have to worry about taking that stuff. And it's scary. Like, oh my God, I'm gonna have to start over with everything. I'm gonna have to buy this and buy this. And the way that my pocket looks right now, how am I gonna do that? Faith. Faith. That things are going to get better, that they're not always going to be this. They're not. And I know it feels like that, it looks like that, but do you have faith enough to believe that the God that you love so much and give so much credit to will give you better? Okay. Yeah, I had to let all that go. So then as I'm packing to get ready to come to South Carolina, I would like get stuff. I would throw stuff away. Okay, that can go because that's not gonna fit. Okay, well that can go, that's not gonna fit. Okay, let me try packing a different way. Okay, it's still not all gonna fit. Let me throw some more stuff out. When I got to the airport, I had to throw more stuff away because the bag was too heavy. And I didn't know I had the extra money to pay to go ahead and take the heavy bag. And I think that was for a reason, because I needed to be able to just throw it out. It doesn't matter, right? Most of the time, they're just things. They might be sentimental, but that sentiment is in your heart. It's not in the physical things. I brought things that represented my granny, like, you know, so I did keep those things or whatever. And you'll know some things, it is like, okay, yes, this I am going to keep. Other things, it's like, I gotta part with it. It may hurt. It may be hard. But I believed, I was like, all these clothes, I'll get some more. I'm going to change my life anyway. Like, it don't matter. And so yeah, I've had quite a few times that I've had to let go, and it's like, you know, you can either be willing and open, or it can be in a situation where it's like, oh, okay, you don't want to let go of that, let me go and just knock it out your head. Let me go ahead and evict you from this apartment so that you can get on up out of here because you're too comfortable. So, okay, and you got some more growing to do, and that is not gonna happen here, but it's gonna happen here though. And we're gonna grow you and mold you so you can get ready to go to South Carolina, and you're gonna do some even more growing and molding there, and then we're gonna move on. It doesn't matter. Can you trust that there is more for you? That you deserve more, that you deserve better. Like, them clothes in your closet you don't want to throw away, they're 10 years old anyway. You're not going to wear them. Let them go. So how can we do this? Start with something small. Because you're going to have to get used to this. Because it's going to happen throughout your lifetime where things just change and we're so scared to change. So scared. For what? When you believe that something better can come, it really replaces that attachment. Friends, had to let them go. I got better friends coming. And not better in like a shady way, but better for me, more aligned with where I am in life currently. I want better, don't you? Like a better Sprite, a bigger and better Sprite. Yes, please. Like, you hold on to this one can and I got a whole 24 pack for you. Please give that to me. Like, what? So let it go. You hold on to $10 when God's like, yeah, gotta let that $10 go because I got 100 coming for you. Don't you want to see that there could be something better? Something better. I mean, like, why not? Could it be worse? Sure. Is that likely when you know that this is what you need to do? No. Could it feel worse for some time? Yes. Living in my grandparents' house was not more comfortable than having my own apartment where I get to be in my own little sanctuary and live how I want to live, eat how I want to eat, like, right? I had a comfortable bed. It needs to be, actually that mattress needs to be replaced. But I mean, like, I had everything the way that I wanted it. It was uncomfortable. I cried so much. And being there after my granny passed, like, that was horrendous. But it forced me to grow. Because eventually I was like, okay, guys, for as long as you're gonna be here, like, you can't just keep living like this. So we gotta do something different. Like, are you tired of this or what? Like, what are you actually holding on to? And that's what you need to ask yourself. What am I actually holding on to? So here's a journal prompt for you. What do I fear will happen if I let this go? And I want you to really think through that and process that. What do I fear will happen? And I don't want you to just like, oh, I don't fear anything. I'm good. Yeah, okay. Then why you haven't let it go yet? And I want you to process that. And then I want you to think about and visualize what could be better. What are you needing? What is that not even giving you that you need and deserve? You won't know until you open your hand and receive what else is coming for you. And you won't get the opportunity to know if it was better if you don't ever try it. What is the worst that can happen is what we always go to. But let's ask, what is the best that can happen? What's the best that can happen? Let your mind visualize that. Give yourself a different option. A different option, a different solution. Okay? So, I talked about this shirts being changed. Check them out. Let me know what other colors you all want. And we'll work them in here. I know a lot of people have been wanting purple shirts, red shirts. A few people have said green. So we're gonna do that, and I'm excited. I'm very excited about what is to come. I'm excited to connect with you all in a different way. I'm very distracted by these different things, but I want this to be a cool little chill, laid back. We just having a good time, okay? As I was kind of thinking about, what do I want Notes by Kaya to be? I want Notes by Kaya to be comfortable. I want it to be where you feel good, just be yourself. Because who else are you trying to be? Please. Who better than you could you possibly be? So that is all. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, subscribe, share. In the description, it will have all the information for you that you need to connect with me, as well as to view those other shirts. And order those. You can book my office hours if you need to talk about this. If you're having a hard time and struggling with letting something go that you know needs to, let's talk about it. Let's talk about what the struggles are. Say you start that journaling prompt and you're like, okay, now what? Let's talk about it. Let's figure out what are some next steps. What are some different solutions for you to get you moved along into the life that you were born to live anyway. Okay? All right, thank you guys so much, and I will talk to you in the next one. Bye.
And I still kept it 100, yeah. Who don't play, play.